Good morning, London. How is everyone doing? It is 2:05 Eastern on the 12th of September, 2025. And um, interesting day yesterday that we didn't break the high, right? Yeah, let me just, I need to set up a few things. Good morning, London. How is everyone? Just testing I'm always testing the YouTube to see how much delay there is, just to make sure to get an idea of people on Wi-Fi, how that impacts the delay and testing sound. I always need to do that because sometimes I just forget to, well, not forget, but it just doesn't always work properly if you don't double check. But anyway, yeah, I need to get into some analysis. Let's get into it. Mm, 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 mm. So, because we didn't take out the high, right? And we left a lot of equal highs yesterday. In the PM session, I was already sort of like expecting that a little bit, but then again, because it was always hovering, I was like, okay, when it does that, that's a perfect scenario. If it doesn't take out the high for today, because there is news, it's a news Friday. Um, and then it might be a very nice setup for proper TGIF, which we haven't had for a couple of weeks. So just a very clean, that it takes out a Friday high again, and then it goes back into the range 20, 30, 40%. Now, the question is like, when are we going to go back into the range, right? Because sometimes you can already do it in London and just have minor movements in AM PM session. So yeah, most perfect scenario would be, let me go into it. This is 4 hour, right? We just opened the 4 hour candle. So why I like the 2 o'clock, that's why I tried to come on. I was a little bit late again. So it's like the 4 a.m. You always want to, like, when the manipulation starts of a 2 a.m. candle. So sometimes you have a manipulation to the upside. And that's the move that actually, well, you can see it already had a large move here. So we didn't have consolidation. Well, we did have a little bit here. And it already went down here. So technically, when you have a new 2 hour candle starting and you come out of consolidation, that's actually the manipulation move that I'm trying to get. But now, we had already a move up, so it's not really giving that clean move that I would. Well, actually, this was a nice move now. Let me see how many points was that. Now that's not interesting. But it did start in the macro, 148. We did take out a high, and now we're getting the move maybe 2, 6. Okay. So yesterday this was 10 with 2, and then you can see the Asia session has just been took out the 4 hour low right here, and we took another low, and this candle took out both the high and the low. So the candle did open up above the mid body of the 4 a.m. So that is still sort of like indicating a bullish scenario. But then I wouldn't be too expecting too much that it's going to take it out during. Well, it could actually, but it's a 4 hour candle, right? 2 to 6, so that means pre-market, before pre-market. So well, just have to wait and get more intel. Oh yeah, I'm going to look at the news. I want to see exactly the news that we're getting. Go. And oh, I need to change this as well. It gives me a bit better idea of the ranges that we can expect. Okay. $24.18. We're gonna 10 points down. 24.18. Yeah. Um, just looking at the we have a very, very, very small fair value gap on the 4-hour, right? So let's build some scenarios. Let's just see what is probable. Let's get rid of these. Here we go. You see this is a very, very, very tiny fair value gap. Right over here. Very small gap here. Now this could be the breakaway gap, right? So that means there might not be any, it doesn't need to be filled. If we go much higher, then if that's the breakaway gap, we're going a lot higher. So let's see. Fair value gap. Yeah, there you go. You need to go here, here. There we go. It's a very, very tiny one. Well, you're a little bit bigger than that. Here you go. No. There you go. Okay. 42 to 47. It's only 5 points, but it's still a gap, right? Now the question is it a breakaway gap, which means it doesn't have to be filled, it's just going to leave it? Or are we going to go back into the range and then, or are we going to all-time highs? Oh yeah, I have to look at the news. Look at the news for today. Today is, oh, we do have London news. Oh, that was okay. There was 2 a.m. news. Wow. London news. That was really exciting, I guess. Not. And then just orange gold. And then we owed 10 a.m. news. The preliminary consumer sentiment and inflation expectations. 10 a.m. news. Not that exciting as the 8:30 news, but then again, it could still, have significant news. And I'm very interested in these highs now. but we just have to see how it's going to react. If it's going to blast through and during London and it goes into uncharted territory, that might be really, really interesting, right? Just have to get a little bit more intel. Enjoying coffee, it's waking up a little. Well, I'm awake already, but just ease in the charts, I guess. Let me put it that way. Let me put it that way. Let me just open my live account. Just want to make sure if there's a good trade. And I normally don't want to trade in London, well, I did, but you always have to be prepared for if there's a really solid trade. Why are you not opening? Here we go. Okay, it's open. So, watching these all-time, those equal highs that has been formed yesterday, we didn't take out the highs, right? So I marked this for our little fair value gap, but it could be a breakaway gap. So that means it doesn't have to be filled. It's just 5 points, 5 NQ points. So question is, are we going back into the range? It's not that far if you think about it, right? If this is, we're here right now, 24, 29, about 75 points back into the range, and then, you know, or it could go just into this wick and leave this open, which I wouldn't be surprised. This is sort of like being left open, and then we could just either reject from this wick, that we don't even need to go further down. So structure looking very bullish at the moment. It's just sort of like waiting, you know, waiting when it's going to break out of that of this area, because it's just, you know, it has a lot of 4-hour candles just here. This, and now we are above the midpoint of this one here. So I'm going to go to one time frame low. I'm just going to go to the 1 hour to see if I can see anything significant here. Do we have any fair value gaps? No, just wicks. See, and a large wick here. And this large wick is below that 4-hour little gap. Now, this liquidity has been taken. It looks very, very bullish, extremely bullish. And especially it not, you know, it was just hovering around for hours at that top. And on the PM session stream, I did say I don't think it's going to be taken out. I think this is the high of day. But it was really, I can imagine that a lot of people were like, oh my God, I'm going long. And they got, you know, chewed up all the way. But the question now is, well, when is it going to break? And are we going to go into the range? But if I look at this range, it's like, you know, how low can we go? Or are we just going to break out and go into all-time highs? I think it's also very important to look at ES now, to keep on, especially around when there's movement, you know, if there's a S&T forming, and especially now on like 15 minutes, because, you know, it's a little bit the same, obviously, because it has been hovering around the same areas. So now I actually want to put ES here as well, but don't want to miss. I'm on the 1 hour. We're not going to get 1 hour S&T. It should be more likely like lower time frame S&T, I would presume, in this area now. So yeah, let me have a look how the structure is on the 4 hour from ES. Okay. Well, that's interesting. ES has a flat bottom, a flat top candle. The 6 o'clock. The 6 o'clock is a flat top. So that's interesting. It definitely is going to take that out anytime soon. So that means the 6 o'clock. Let me check now. The 6 o'clock. What is our 6 o'clock? That's this one here. Okay, we're already above it. So this is an interesting. So well, it's not SMT then. When ES takes it out, we're already above it. So that means that is not significant SMT because we're already above it. So it's just following NQ. The SMT has to be on a lower time frame. Like I said, it's too, because it's so it's such a small area. You really have to look into SMT on the lower time frame in that case. Like for example, if they in London, we're not going to take out this high. For example, you want to see an SMT before this in this area before it takes out, and then it goes lower into the zone if it does that, right? So that's what I'm just going over a few scenarios. Like, okay, what am I looking for? Because it's always difficult and it's sort of like hovering, against the all-time high and going, and that you don't have a lot to go by except like, okay, are we going back into the range or are we just going to break out, and or are we going to save the move until the 10 a.m. news, or what is it going to do? Yeah, it's just a little bit hard to read, and just to have a good just a clear indication and get a clear plan already. So I just can't really know at this point. We just need more data to see what it's going to do. So midnight is here. This is the dashed line. And this is the first presented fair value gap after midnight. And the blue one is the first presented fair value gap from 6 o'clock, after 6 o'clock. So after the open of the NQ. And the green one is the PM session. So what's interesting to me is on the 1 minute, we are definitely hovering above all those two. You can see how beautifully it uses the first presented of the PM session, right? It goes below it, and now it's using it as support, and we went higher. So these are important levels. Yeah, this was a good trade. 1 past 11, 11 past 1. We have a retest on the first presented, and you put your stop. You put your stop below the intermediate low here, and then you're not stopped out here because you see it just stays above it, and then you just ride it up. But it's hard to frame, in all honesty. I mean, this is a better trade here. I'll wait into take this liquidity, and then we most likely are going back down to the range here. But I would just scalp at this point, not really expect too much because we just don't know too much. 1 hour. This is 1 hour. You just have to wait a little bit more. Yeah, for me it's a little bit. I will be rather short biased for the London session, and that they are going to hold this for a little bit later. So as these highs have not been taken out right yesterday, they're just creating all-time highs, which is very nice for our TGIF setup for today. So that gets me excited. We just have to figure out now if this fair value gap that I noted on the 4 hour is a very tiny one. If it's a breakaway gap, that means we're going to go, if this is a breakaway gap and this is just the first area of consolidation, right? If you have a market maker model, then we are going higher. Then after a breakaway gap, we've got a measuring gap. So that means the measuring gap still has to come. But then again, are we going to use this fair value gap as a point of rejection? Like we're going lower into the range, and then we go back out of it through that one. So let's see. It's not that far. It's just 75 points. So what I would like to see that are we going, is this candle, the 4 hour candle, going below the midpoint of this 4 hour candle? or are we going to stop there, right? So we could stop, like for example, if we stop here, this red dashed line is the, I think it's going to go there. That's the settlement price of yesterday. So that's also draw on liquidity. So you can always put that on your chart. You can, that's integrated in TradingView in lines. So I always have that on because you'll see it really goes back to that. Now it's just having a little stop in the, yeah, see, I think it's going down. Here we go. Let's see if it stops here in the settlement price. And then it takes out this liquidity here. So that's here. 24.17. If it will do that and stop there, it will still be below the midpoint, right? So then I would still be bullish. Let's see what it does at that line, at the settlement price. 26. Okay. Oh, no. If we have SMT with ES, let me double check that. Just want to see if we had SMT with ES on the 15. We had 145, took out the 130, 145. Took out, okay, no SMT. Yeah, I'm not interested. There's no SMT with ES, so this move doesn't interest me at all. What are you doing? Now, I wouldn't be surprised if we're going to make another, we're just going to have a tap in into the equal highs again. So not taking it out, but again, making a, like a little bouncing at the top. It loves doing that. But You know, we don't care because we know what's coming then. Okay, to get my phone. Two 2:30. Or are we going to go to the monthly high? That is, so I've got two levels. If we don't go down, 24.44 and 24.76, which we could get in. We need to go, and we need to go. There we go. Yeah, I am inclined to think that until 8:30 we're not gonna go out of that range. We're just going to make movements in this range, but then this looks pretty balanced. Oh, it's hard to read. After. I hope it's not. If that's the case, it's going to be really a boring London session. Okay. Mm-mm. Nice little gap here. See how the 4 hour is staying above the midline of the other 4 hour candle. When you see price action like this, when you see these gaps coming, you know, you might get like a nice move down, but it's going to be very one move down, and then you start like you get this again, and you know, you always have to be a little bit vigilant when you see those a lot of gaps in London session. So let's see if it's going to go all the way to the midnight. So this is midnight. I really want to see if how it behaves around the midpoint of that 4 hour candle. Are we going to go below it? We go all the way to midnight already. Okay. Um, we're it's 12th of September, so I'm just thinking about the monthly profile. Let's go. Let's have a look at the weekly and the monthly. let's say we get a TGIF today, right? So we don't care if it goes. I mean, for us, it will be really nice if it goes down a little bit and then it makes a move up again to take out the those highs, right? Look, it's been creating all these equal highs yesterday. It would be a bummer if that doesn't happen today, right? And then we have a really nice TGIF. Now, if I see that coming, sometimes I just wait and I just take the move down into the TGIF if I know, because those are really easy trades. The moment it's done with its move, and you can, and the best ones obviously are the ones that are in the PM session. And then those are easy trades, but sometimes it can occur earlier, so you always have to be vigilant. When is it taking out liquidity? And you have some other confluences, but then it becomes a little bit more difficult when you go into new all-time highs, because how can we don't have any references to the left. So that's the only thing that we need to be aware of. But then you can use standard deviations, and there are other things you can use to calculate ranges, because it always works in the algo works in ranges, compared to other areas. So that's the only thing that will make it a little bit more complicated, that we are an all-time high. So let's see. I like that it's going down. I like to see that. Did it move away from those all-time highs? And I'm fine to miss this move. Let me see if there's any platform candles. Oh, here you go. A lot of wicks, eh? So, like I mentioned before, this is a 4-hour fair value gap, but it's just 5 points. If it's a breakaway gap, then we have a long way up, right? But if it's just a fair value gap we're going into, which is only 75 points, it might be a nice trampoline. Let's say we're here and we go. Oh, it's only 64. Yeah, now it's 65 because we just moved 10 points. Okay. So for me, that will be a nice entry to the long side if we don't go further down in this 4-hour fair value gap. If we make it that low, but we could reject in this wick somewhere. So before we even make it to this low, because a breakaway gap is always left open, right? Now, do we have this could be the breakaway gap as well. We can disregard this one. Let me just calculate something. If this would be the breakaway gap, this would be the measuring gap. Let me see. Just want to see if we can sort of get an idea of it's the breakaway, measuring, and this is the range. Wow. Breakaway, measuring, this should be the measuring then. Let's see. Because we have a here, or is it from here? Let me check something. All-time high, 2468. 24.8. This is the disregard this. 1, 2. Hmm. 1, 2, 4. If this one is it, or if we take this area, it is here. 24.93. If you have a range and then you have a measuring, you have a breakaway gap, and then after the breakaway gap is a measuring gap, right? But what is the measuring gap? There's so many wicks, so that's my struggle here a little bit. Can we figure out what the measuring gap is? Like if I would calculate this range, for example, like as a dealing range, this is exactly the midpoint, right? Then this range is done if you consider this the range, but I don't consider this a full range. This is the range here. And then we have to go further up because we don't have a proper wick. We don't really have an intermediate, a proper intermediate term high. Yeah, you can consider this one, but I consider this equal high. So let's say, what is the midpoint of this area here? You have a fair value gap here. This is a proper fair value gap. So this is how I would, if we go into uncharted territories, right? I would look like, okay, how can, if we have a full range, how can we calculate a range, right? You can calculate a range by knowing what the measuring gap is, but it's always, I find ICT has not given a lot of information on that. There are a few videos, but if I look into the charts, I'm still confused most of the time. So let's say this is a measuring gap, right? On the higher time frame, the breakaway gap. We don't want the breakaway gap to be filled, but now we did have a rejection. We did have this long wick into it, but technically, I believe ICT said you can disregard them at some in these kind of situations. If this would be the breakaway gap, it's not filled except this manipulation can be. Then one of the next fair value gaps of a range will be a measuring gap, and that's that's the midpoint of a range. So if I'm looking at this and just see, okay, what is another one? So that's here, or but this is the 1 hour. If we go to the 15, there are obviously more. Let's see in the 15, we have more fair value gaps that we can take in consideration. Let's do it. Just preparing for later today, right? Because I do believe we're going into uncharted territories, and I always like to prepare myself. Because obviously we don't have a full dealing range yet, because for a dealing range we need intermediate term high and an intermediate term low. We only have an intermediate term low, and we don't have an intermediate proper wick on the upside, right? So the range is not finalized yet. And obviously there's more wicks here, or more fair value gaps, but then this is 15. It's a hard one because we don't have any we don't have any fair value gaps here, right? So it has to be in this area. Okay, well, let's take this one here. Okay, so every time, even on the so you know, if I would be like really take my low hanging fruit around this area if we could break out and then take it from there. If it goes higher, you know, you just look for a higher fair value gap. that you can use. Oh, here we have maybe one. Is it one? Look at this. Is this a no? The wicks are overlapping. Okay, we're going further down. That's interesting. Yeah, I'm not interested in that trade yet. So I'm just interested in longs, to be honest, and in a short for TGIF. So I'm okay to let this go. Just watching. I'm trying to figure out how to measure a measuring gap. I hope ICT will get into that more when he does his lectures. But I think it should be here somewhere in this area. Or this is a new information that we have to use those with wicks. But I'm inclined to think that this is it, and the range will be somewhere here. So we can maybe see something go back from here, but we'll see. But then you take this one into account, right? Here, this one, and then we consider this the breakaway gap. There we go. Okay. But we'll get more into that when the time is coming. I'm gonna go back to the 4 hour. 4 hour. If you take the whole 4 hour range, it's going to be a very large range. And, when it's a TGIF, it doesn't really have to go that far outside into territory because it just, takes out a high. And then, next week we have week 3, and then we get the better expansions. So we'll see. But this is a nice move down. I like it. I like what it's doing. Let's see if it's going to reject in this area here. I'll mark that. I'll mark this. Bear with me. Okay, I want to see if we have any rejections in this area. So this is important for me to see how low are we going into this rejection block. Go. Yeah, that's what I'm looking for. So if we are rejecting, or if we are going below this, then my next target will be obvious. Then I will be interested in shorts. Then it might go into this area either for rejection, and then it might go all the way to this fair value gap. But I would think if it's going to go through this one, we're definitely going into this one here, and then either we reject somewhere from here, or we're going to go all the way into this one. So let's see now how far it's going to go. We might just stall already here, and then go back up and then give some more consolidation. Um, 068. 978. What do we have at 978? 978. Yeah, we're definitely going further down. 978. I think we are in. Nine, 986-ish. 250. I think I'm getting into a short for this macro. Yeah, I think it's a good I'm paper trading, just getting warmed up. And I'm going to take it to my 986 will be my low hanging fruit. I'm just going to say just one contract. Um, the macro, yeah, 986. Might be a little bit too early. You know why? Because it might use the first part of the macro to go up. Yeah, it's okay. Yeah, see, it's okay. 9, 7. See what the TP. And 986. 8. I'm gonna bring it to 50%. 998. Yeah, I should have waited a little bit longer, but it's okay. Obviously, it's going up. You know why? It's stupid. I'm getting out of the trade for now. I'm re-entering later, but because it hit midnight, and we always get a rejection out of midnight. So um, I'll re-enter, but I just want to have a better entry. It's a paper trade. Just getting warmed up. I haven't had enough coffee. Cheers. So I'm looking for it. I'm looking for a down move into this rejection block here, but um, I don't expect it to go lower than 977. 977 should be 977. Just trying to get I want to get my TP a little bit more precise. 977. 977. Yeah, I like that level if it goes down. 977. 978. Yeah, 978. Yes, I'm interested in a short for now. Let's see. Just want to give it a little bit more time. I want to see if the macro really, what happens sometimes with the macro is that it uses one part of the macro, for example, to make the move up, and then it goes back into, the continuation in the second part of the macro. But because we hit midnight, you always, that was a very stupid move of mine that I did. When you hit midnight, or that's like always a very good point of liquidity, it will always have a reaction, not a rejection, a reaction. So if you are, even though you're bearish, but you see midnight here and the first percent fair value gap, if it hits it, you do not enter a short because it will always either retrace up and then after a while it will continue its move. So that was really stupid on my end to enter at that point. So it either it could, reach this level and reverse here, or it's just going up a little bit to continue the move down. And well, what I'm looking at in this 4-hour rejection block, if it's going to be a rejection block. Now, technically, the body, what I'm looking at in this 4-hour as well are the bodies above the midpoint. So what you see happening right now is that this 4-hour candle, we are above the body again, right? So I want the bodies. This candle needs to be below this candle for me also to be interested in the short. So I do want to see a turn at some point, and then I will target one of these areas. And for some reason I've been saying 977, but that means it will go below this one. So that's not really, that confuses me a little bit. I'll just take it to half, 0.998. No, just to double check a few things because I'm still. I see a breaker here, but do we have a breaker on the 3 minute? Oh, okay, we have a breaker on the 3 and on the 5. Okay, you see here. Not really. It's technically a breaker. No, on the 5 minute there's nothing. Okay. So it's 256. We're still in the macro. So like I said, the macro could be divided into, sometimes you have a macro, the first part makes the way up, so it rejected from the midnight. So, you can always expect this behavior. So this would be a very good, if I take I can take a sell now with a very tight stop loss. For example, now, if I'm not sure, my stop loss is so minimal here. Put it here, right? If you have a macro, this is a paper trade, but if you can imagine it's a micro, you only have 4 points. It's a very tight stop loss, and it did its work, and you're still bearish. But if you're wrong, you get stopped out for a very, very tiny bit, right? And then it goes, you want to have those stop losses that are really minimal. And then you're a little bit too early. That's fine. It could be. I don't care. The reason why I'm also taking this because we're here at the settlement price, the red line that's in trade of 8. It's very easy to activate it and gives you a lot of information as well. So but it can still go a little bit higher into this wick here and into this one again. So let's see. Yeah, stopped out. Okay, fine. It's gonna go a little bit higher. That's okay. Now, again, it might not go lower at all because we are still in this area, and we could have price action that goes like this, and we're just in this 4-hour candles in these ranges. That could be, and that we get the good price action later today. But now, okay, you see what's happening here on the 5 minute. This could serve as a rejection block, but then I'm looking at this flat candle here with a gap. Like, okay, you could go all the way back up there. But let's see if it's going to use the second part of the macro for continuation, or are we going to get a move further down? I would love a move further down, all the way up to here. Now, this is a 4-hour fair value gap, but then again, I'm wondering if it's going to go all the way there, or it's already going to use this as a rejection block, right? So if we go all the way through this one, then this wick becomes my interest on the 4-hour. Yeah. But I loved yesterday's price action that it didn't take out these highs, because that really means, they're saving it for a nice day. Hey TJ, how are you doing? Did you get a 10-4 lately? Have you seen them on your chart? Price inside of 15 minutes bearish or OB. Yeah, let me have a look at I've been very focused on the 4-hour now. Yeah, good to see you again. So we had a really, really strong reaction. I'm always struggling when I don't have enough. When I say reaction, it's called I say rejection, but it is basically sometimes the same, but they can be very different at some point. So, not yet. I started studying order blocks and FUGs. Yeah, everything when you get into one of them, it's just such a you start to see so many things. And I don't know if you find it very exciting as well. So once you start getting into it, and then study the IFUG as well. I mean, those inversions are so powerful. They give so much information. So obviously, my first presented fair value gaps, which I use from the session, they become inversions as well, right here. So you can see it happening right over here. So this gray one is my midnight first presented fair value gap. Now you have a bullish one here. It goes through, and now it's a valid inversion because you have price action here, through, and through. So if we go down in this one now, if it is going to disrespect this one, we have we have a bearish fair value gap, which is very valid. So I would like it to see it go through this one, and then use it as a further move down. I don't like it to go higher. I want it to go down. Which I think it will work. Let me see if I can make that clear. So an IFUG doesn't become an IFUG before you need 3 moves through the IFUG before it becomes a valid inversion fair value gap. So this one is this one is bullish, and now it's still bullish, right? But let me go on the 15 minutes. We have so much wicks. We don't have much. So people call this an inversion, but this is just a BPR. This is not an inversion. Yes, you have a bearish fair value gap and a bullish, but it's a BPR. It's not an inversion. Are we going up? Let me just. Ooh. Okay. Still in an up move. Now, this is an inversion. We can see it happening right now. So here's a bearish fair value gap, right? Then it becomes bullish, bearish, and now this bearish fair value becomes a springboard for this move up. So this makes, this looks very bullish now. Is it a fair value gap? Yes, we are here. Here we go. So you have a bearish fair value gap. Nothing happened here. Then you have movement through the fair value gap, and then you have another bearish fair value gap going through it, and then it inverts it becomes an inversion because it was bearish, and because of the move up and the move down, then the move up becomes a springboard. So that's an inversion. So, and you can see how powerful it is now and how strong the reaction to the upside is. So this is an inversion. Why is this one significant? If you have an inversion and you have intermediate term highs below it or above it, they are significant. So because of these highs here and the first one that is here, you can always mark this one as significant because also it goes down and there's nothing here yet for a while. So you know this will be an important one at some point. So you can always mark them when you have intermediate term highs above them or below them. You mark those fair value gaps. Now the only thing is what might be a little bit confusing is that there's no retest of it, but you need the price to go through 3 times. So 1, 2, 3, and then it inverts, and you can see it here. Now, if we want to see this one invert to bearish, we want to see we have one down, up, and then we want it to go down, and then this one becomes a inversion, right? Does it work as an inversion because price has been rebalanced? Yeah. Yeah, it is basically, I think that's it is just a BPR, but then in a different way, right? If you think about it, it's just balance because now this price, technically, you have candles going through 1, 2, 3, that makes it balanced then. But if it's balanced, that means we cannot go, price doesn't have to go down anymore. That's not what I like. I don't know if that's a proper, if that is properly the, I don't know if it's, I think it's more reclaimed, right? I think it's more, but then it still price could go through it. Like with the BPR, price doesn't have to go through it anymore. But you see the difference, right? That the difference between this one now and this one here, and that it inverts its function, and it gave a very good reaction here. And I combined that with midnight here, right? So if you have a move down, so I mean, I'm thinking as well now because I was short and that was not correct. I didn't see the. Thank you for the question, by the way. Because now I actually see the logic myself. You know, that's why I love these streams because, you know, I learn myself so much as well. Because of this inversion, we have a move down, right? We're still in a macro. It hits this level. And if you already have this inversion in your mind and you see, okay, we already had price action once, 2, and it goes back after hitting this, and because of this inversion, we could have anticipated the move up. Macro, inversion, we hit the midnight, you know, it's liquidity. So there's no reason for it to go down in this macro. So thank you. I mean, I also like, oh my God, you know, there was an obvious trade. Thanks. No, I missed that because of this bloody inversion. It was a move up. Everything lined up. So it was a very obvious trade. So basically, this could have been a turtle soup. The only thing that we need is the move up after the inversion. So this would have been the entry. And it's all logic. It's based on logic. There is no, hold on. Damn, I missed that one. But you know, your question was the best question for today. So let's say we already have this inversion in mind. We just needed the confirmation. You need to get out of so you enter here. We have liquidity taken. We're in a macro. And now what will be the target? Now that one is a little bit difficult today. Let's take it to R. No, we're going to take it to this flat bottom candle here. And then I mentioned that one, that gap. This will be the trade. Well, let's say you enter here. No, we're going to do it differently. You enter after that, and your stop loss goes here, below the inversion. This is it. This could be the trade. I think it's a good trade, and so that inversion would have given an extra confluence, macro, but you just want to have the confirmation that it goes over the inversion, right? And then it's just a springboard. And then because here's a flat bottom, I'm on the 5 minutes here, so flat top with a gap, draw on liquidity. I would just take it to here just to be on the safe side. And then that's it. Do this inversion. Yeah, thank you for the question. That's a good one. Because I was wondering, I was like, you know, aiming for a short, and but because of this was the answer. That it was not a short at all. Here we go. So I think what I've understood, once they have done their job, I think they are reclaimed, right? They don't have much value in the sense of that they will be used again. So they, but ICT is coming back at the 15th of September, and he says he's going to give some lectures. They're going to be a little bit more, he called it university style, so I'm really looking forward to it. He might go deeper into some of these topics, and yeah, I'm very excited about that. In the 5 minute candle at 225 would be good target. The 5 minute at 225. Yeah, exactly. I was looking at this flat because it had a flat top and a gap here on the 5 minute. That would have been my target then. Because I still don't want, I do not want it to take the highs out. So I'm sort of conflicted now. I wanted just to, you know, actually I wanted to consolidate in this area for the whole London session, and maybe even in pre-market, just make a move down and just leave these for AM session, and then the PM session we get a TGIF. That would be my ideal scenario. Yeah, and we hadn't had a good TGIF for a couple of weeks now, so I like it so far. I think this was the best trade for now, in the 2:50 AM, because of this area, and then take that, you know, because it's very hard to trade good trades in this consolidation area. You know, you have to be, your trades are shorter. You have to get in, have a very tight stop loss, and just take it to specific levels that you are, like for example, this level would have been a good level here. But then again, it's quite hard to frame it, because yeah, it could take the highs out anytime. It could go to the low. So the flat, yeah, it's moving in the last trend. Yeah, especially on the 4-hour, guys. If you see, you know, on the lower time frame, they can be a little bit tricky, because sometimes it doesn't go to those areas for quite a while. But when you see a flat bottom or a flat top on the 4-hour, we call them devil's marks. You even have indicators for them too. But you can just, I think we had one yesterday, or Oh, yesterday was a good example, by the way. I mentioned it in the London stream. Let me go back. I said, listen, if we get manipulation, it will take out that flat bottom candle. Let me show you. Oh, here it is. This was in London's. When was it? When was that candle? And I said, if there's manipulation, it will take it out. Let me see it. It will just wick through it. Where was our manipulation yesterday? Ah, here it is. I see it. And I said it in London already. This is a very good example. This candle, I saw it in London, and I said, listen, if there's going to be a manipulation wick, watch this one. It might just take it out to just create a little wick. And look at this one. Look at this candle here. Boom. See what it did? Just one wick. So it helps you identify manipulation, but this is not a good example. I think this one is the best example. Here we go. This one was yesterday's. Here's another one. You see, this one was created in Asia. Here, boom. And this was yesterday's manipulation. 8:30 candle. Boom. You see? So it helps you identify the manipulation. So I was expecting this as manipulation already, and also I was looking at this 4-hour wick. Okay, this is going to be a rejection block. If you see a combination like this, a large wick with a flat bottom candle, you can already have a very high probability that your manipulation wick, because this is lack of manipulation. It will only have a wick. You will hardly see a body go below it. It's almost a wick. So, and it goes right into, I can measure this for you guys and then tell me it's not algorithmic. You see that? I had that on my charts. You don't see me trade in AM session, but I had this on my chart. It was either, if I see this happen and I already have this candle here, I expect either this level or this level. But if I see it already go up and we're here, and depending on the time, I already know we're done. The manipulation move is done. Why? Flat rejection. I think that's a good gem for today, right? I love sharing these things. And I love it when people are seeing, when they have, when they take something and they can use it. I love to hear that, TJ. But you see how powerful they are? And, it takes a few candles here, but you see them in London, you mark them, and you just, start noticing, and, you see it here happening, large wick. It's a lack of manipulation. Lack of manipulation. It just needs manipulation. It's very funny that I see that people say wicks do the damage and bodies tell the story. The power of wicks is so big if you start using them. And yes, they do the damage in the sense of, but for me, I frame my trades basically around wicks lately because I use the rejection, like these large wicks. If you have a lot of wicking, and especially a combination like this for me, this is a gem of today, guys. I'm really sharing this because I love doing it. But if you see a large wick with a flat bottom candle, use this calculation that I just showed you, and you can really have very clear. You don't want the candle to go below the 50% because then it will be, it invalidates the bullish move. But you want it to see, it's a turtle soup. It's literally a turtle soup. Yeah. So, yeah. Flat bottoms and wicks. I love them. So yes, when things become very wicky, you just go into the higher time frame and you use the 4-hour, and you grade them. I use quarter 1/3 because that really helps me. That's why also in this area now, I already marked this wick, and you can see we haven't even gone into it, right? So I'm starting to think this is a breakaway gap on the 4 hour, which will, if that's the case, guys, if I'm wrong, then but if this would be a rejection, if this would be a breakaway gap on the 4 hour, where's the measuring gap? Oh, it might be here. So then, you can measure the move up, but we still have to see what's going to happen. Because if we go up into the, yeah, wicks are manipulation moves, but also they become gaps, right? So they are just as important, because what does a market do? It only does two things. It fills gaps or imbalances, or it grabs liquidity. So the more gaps you have, the more points the algo has to refer to. So yeah, a lot of gaps means, or a lot of wicks means, you just have to be able to find the proper gaps that are valid for the algo. But then again, if you have a present, like a flat bottom candle next to a gap, you already know, okay, we're going to get manipulation to that. There's lack of manipulation. We have a wick next to it. And we're going to into that wick, right? And then you just, like I showed you, you use the calculation, and then it's probably somewhere between the 50%. So, and then you already have indicated, you already have like a very good indication how far you're going to go into this wick, for example. So those are all algorithmic signatures, and you'll see them all over, and it's exactly the same here, right? You see now, what do you see here? You have a very small gap here. It doesn't really go. It doesn't take out this gap here, but it still it's almost at the so this almost becomes an equal low, but it doesn't take it out. So it just uses this situation as a, so if I see this, I'm almost certain, like, okay, it's most likely we'll just wick into this wick because of this candle here. So yeah, wicks are the manipulation move, and that's why the 10-4, the best entries are that when you enter in the manipulation move of the 10, right? And then you just ride it to the 4. But then again, you can still enter when it gets back to the 10 o'clock open price, and you just write it down. Because sometimes you don't know exactly how it's manipulating, and sometimes it takes 2 candles to manipulate. But yeah, we love manipulation. We love AMD, right? Accumulation, manipulation, distribution makes me the happiest person I can be. Yeah. Okay, but now it's so nice to share these little gems. Yeah. I'm looking forward to today's session, guys, because I really I love it when we get a good TGIF, because once it takes out the high, the moment it takes it out, the only thing that was a little bit concerning today is that we're going to go into uncharted territory, because we're going to go in all-time highs. But there are ways to calculate those highs, and when it's going to turn, and there are algorithmic signatures. But we just have to. I hope it happens in PM session, and I'll be live at the PM session as well. That would be awesome to have finally a TGIF in the PM session, and just working out well. So anyway, yeah. Anyone trading this right now? Are you trading, TJ? Anyone else interested in really trading right now? Look, I'm very hesitant in price action like this. If we're in a range of 4-hour candles, I'm not very eager to use my ammo, just maybe paper trading, but I just don't like it to trade in this range. You can have a few good trades, because it's not a small range, obviously. It's a 4-hour range. So like this is a good trade when you have midnight going up, right? But what else? I mean, it's hard to frame. I don't know. It's really hard for me to frame a good trade now. it can go both ways. Yeah, we can go take out the highs, we can go back into the range. Is this another inversion here? Very small. Midpoint. So I'm thinking of shorting at 24.32. 24.32. Are you using this wick as a probable rejection block? Oh no, not at all. 32, 32, 32. There you go. Or you want to take that it takes out this high into this fair value gap. Okay, so we can see this as a potential breaker, right? But we have not. We're back into the breaker, so I'm thinking it's already done its work in this breaker here. It's a 1 minute breaker though, but on price action like this, you have to mark the wick as well, because it could go down all the way into the wick and still go back up. But you know, this is already indicating to me that it's not really when you have a move up. You want to see a one-time rejection into the breaker, and then you want to see a move up. But now what you see happening is it goes in, back in again, up, back in. Yeah, we're still in the breaker, but it gets, you know, less probable for a move up. It gets more probable for a move down when you see price action like this. And we probably don't even have a breaker on the 5 minute. Let's see, let's check. No, see, we don't even have a breaker on the 5 minutes. So the 1 minute break already served its purpose to this area here. I think shorting is a good way if you want to trade. That is a higher probability, I would presume. I marked the whole. Let me just make it another color for the breaker. Just make it blue. Okay, I marked the whole, including the wick, because on days like this, it can manipulate all the way to here and still go up. But when you see this goes up into the breaker, consolidates, goes even lower. Uh, the bodies went already below the breaker here. So I wouldn't be very eager on shorting. Where would you take it, TJ? Would you use one of these levels here, or do you have another level in mind? Are you looking lower as a TP? I wouldn't be surprised it's going to use the London session for a slow drip down. Uh, so we are below also the first presented fair value gap of the opening session. So that means the 6 o'clock C is already rejecting here. It's not. TP 23992. Yep. Let me see. I think I had two levels that I mentioned a few while back. Let me see. It was 778 and I think it was 992ish. Yeah. I have 977 and 973-ish. You have 992. Let me see. 992. 24. Oh, you see it's wicking? Yeah. 2416, 2415-ish. I'm going to change my mind a little bit. I think for this session now, it's going to be 2015-ish, and then maybe reverse back up. The range are getting tighter, so I don't think we're going to get until 344-ish. I think until 340, I don't think it's going to go lower than 2015. Then we'll see. There's a fair value gap, right? I see a fair value gap on the 5-minute, a bullish one. I've got about a couple of confluences there, so for the next 10 minutes, only 2015 is low. It doesn't go, I don't think it will go lower than that. And then we'll reassess after 10 minutes. Let's see. Oh, we're still in it's technically a macro, right? And 333, always a good, nice time. 313 macro. We get a lot of movement in that. I don't think it's going to go lower than 215, 2415. -2414-ish. Let's see. Come on, go down. Down, 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 down. There you go. Okay, let's see how it reacts here. Are you going to wick back up or are you going to go down? So there's a little gap on the 5-minute right on the left, and it's in the fair value gap as well. So let's see if that makes this fair value gap a little bit stronger. Now 334. Are you going to continue your move to the downside, or are you going to go be annoying? Okay. It really needs to move down around now if you want the move to go further down. Come on. 23,992. Come on. Are you in a trade, TJ? Then I'll talk to. We need to start talking to NQ. Go down 992 for TJ. See, that's. I'm just not. I'm just a little bit worried about this gap and this fair value gap for now. For this time, and that means until 3:40ish. It's like a time-based model, but you see the fair value gap that I'm looking at on the 5-minute, and the gap on the left of it. So you really want to see this fair value gap being disrespected now. I like it that it's not, it doesn't really, it might go through it at some point because it didn't move away from it very fast. But then again, in this macro, the 330 macro, it didn't do much, did it? Well, I would not. I would have been wary of this trade because of this gap and the 5-minute fair value gap on the left. So for me, I would not be interested at this time. I do. I agree with you that I would look for shorts as well, but I'm just not really confident in this area. You see what I mean? It's just sort of like it's using this fair value gap and this gap sort of like hanging in this area all the time. Oh, I'm on another screen. Let me show you. Let me go to the 5-minute because I was on the one. Sorry, I was on another screen. It's this gap that I was looking at here and this fair value gap. Let me get rid of the breaker. I mean, we don't need the breaker. So this was my hesitation for not entering in a short here. Gap, fair value gap. Even though gap is on the left, the algorithm always refers to these points again and uses them as, well, they're just algorithmic. I mean, I think they're pretty strong. But when I see a gap in the fair value gap, I think that's like a good endpoint of a move. So, and it's exactly right. You can see it. It's exactly here. And you see what happens. It goes into it. Now it might reject it at some point, but I just would enter in a short later when it just uses this move. So when it goes down and it hasn't gone into this area, I do not take it as a short yet because I want to see how it reacts in this area here. Yeah. You see what I mean? Let's begin this one. So you see what happened, right? The 5-minute went into it and it didn't go through it. So that was what I was looking at. And I thought, okay, we could have a bounce. The short could just be not continued here because of this thing here. So this little one here. It's algorithmic. Now, once it goes up again, and look, look at this pre-A, all these gaps here. It's just a lot, and it makes it very hard. I mean, this is a very solid one though, but I mean, this one is just, it could just be a wick. But when you see this in combination with a fair value gap, always be mindful that this becomes a strong fair value gap for the time being. The moment it has done its work, it could go just blast through it. But then you just have to have a little bit more patience. Now let's have a look. Go back to the 1 minute. I'm going to take this one off, right? Go back to the 1 minute. So 3-minute, is there one on the 3-minute as well? Let me see. Now, this makes me even more wary for this trade. Now, we haven't even reached this 3-minute one. Now, let's go back to the 5. Let's see where this 3-minute one is. You see now the 3-minute is below the 5-minute. Now, let's see how it reacts. Now, what could happen? It could, even though, so now we might see the power of these first presented fair value gaps, because like say you don't have this 3-minute here, right? And you only have this. Let's see if it rejects off this first presented fair value gap of the midnight. I'm very curious to see, or it just blasts through it. Because then this becomes an inversion, right? We have a bullish, bearish, bullish, and so then this becomes an inversion. Then we get a move down, and then it's going to use it as a springboard to the downside. But let's see if it doesn't reject from it. But then you have a very valid inversion now here. Okay, I'm going to take this one off because it's definitely going through now. Okay. So now we're going to move into this area most likely. We've got a nice inversion. Let's see if it really is going to give us the, no. I just want to show the inversion on this one here. Flat bottom. So obviously the inversion, they change if you swap through the times, right? But I went to the 3-minute, and you can see how beautifully it now uses this as an inversion, right? Boom. This is a good trade. You just have the retest. And, midnight has been already used as a springboard. So now you can look at this. This is a good entry as well here. Boom. And now it's going to go down. Go to TJ's level. 24, 24, 9. Come on, go down. See, now this is beautifully functioning as an inversion. This retest is beautiful. Midnight is going to be disrespected now because we already worked our way into midnight in this area. So you don't have to, well, no. So I said you don't have to worry, but it could, but because it's been working itself here, it's going to be, it doesn't need midnight to work as a liquidity point anymore. It already did its job. So what's liquidity then? You look at the higher time frame, obviously the 4-hour, I've marked it here already, what's going to be a rejection block. But there are other points like, you see gaps here on the 3-minute, 5-minute. That's the difficult part of trading in this kind of environment. Like, okay, it could have so many stops already and before it moves it way down. So is it going to use this as a rejection block already? No, because we've got the 4-hour nearby, right? So you always have to be, I like this one here, but also let me see this one here, 2402. We come close to this area. Yeah, I would get out somewhere in the 66, 2400 area just in case in this situation. So this is a nice one here. Remember, you're not in a macro, right? So it could just create. Now we're creating the first presented fair value gap of London session. Wow, 3:45. That's really late. Let me just go to the 1 minute. Oh, here is the 1 minute. No, That's weird. Oh, we have one here. Okay, gotcha. Remember, you're not in a macro, right? So it's not going to take out liquidity yet. So it moved outside macro. And that's why I don't like this price action. You've got gaps everywhere, which is just going back and forth into those areas. It will go down, obviously, but you just have to wait until the macro starts. And now you see how nasty this PA is, right? So technically you have an inversion, but it's sort of like, okay, you have price action back. Oh, well, okay, maybe because we have many price action, it's not valid anymore. That could be the case. 1, 2, 3. So did it work here to from this inversion to midnight and then goes back up? Nah, but you need to go down and Q. You're not ready. You're not done yet. You are not done yet. I'm looking forward to. I'm really looking forward to today's later session. Once NQ gets a bit of a laxative, I think it will be nice. And I really hope we're going to get a good TGIF later today. But then again, it's just building its momentum. Even on the 4 hour, you can see sort of like a trend line liquidity forming. We have a high, a lower high, another lower high, another lower high, which is indicating most likely a low resistance liquidity run. Let's see how it looks on the 1 hour. So that's good. We want to see this lower, and then maybe it makes another wick here. Okay, go lower, go lower, go lower. Let's do one more macro, and then so I trade the September, but we need to change in the coming week, right? So next week we're gonna watch the volume. Technically, the date of the changing is the third Friday of the month, and this month is then the month that we need to change. I trade the NQ, the continuous, but I also trade the monthly. It just depends. But I do have other charts where I put on my data only on the monthly contract. So, but next week I will start monitoring the volume, and the moment the next contract is higher, I change. But you don't change. Technically, you change Friday, next week Friday, but it could be that there's already more volume on the other one, and then we just change already before that. So we have to monitor and there are more ways to monitor that. You just go onto the CME chart, or yeah, there are many ways to just keep an eye on the volume. I believe after I think that it's become we have to change to Z. We're on U now, and I believe it's C, but yeah, I'll get back to that. But next week, it can be a bit tricky sometimes when you change, especially the first few days. So But I don't change contract until really the volume has exceeded the old one. So some people really change it very fast already in the beginning of the week. I don't do that. I would rather stay on the old one as long as possible, and then when the volume is higher on the other one, then I change. Yeah. Okay, macro starting 350, 410 macro. Guys, we've just been in a range for a lot of hours. You see that, right? It's just been in this range for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16 hours. um, Price is really effing around with us. They really like to get a lot of people. And there's a lot of people think, oh my god, it's going to break out now. Oh my god, it's going to the downside now. It's really going to do it now, and it just goes back into the range. Now, we already had 3:30. It's 10 o'clock news, and we don't have 8:30 news. But it's sort of like, I'm going to let go at some point. But then again, you don't want to like, oh, and there's a really big move, and it's like even though it's pre-market, but you might miss it. But it's just one move, and then there will be more opportunities. But I wouldn't be surprised if we have like a one large move and then a lot of consolidate just before pre-market, and then a lot of consolidation again in 9:30, because then people come online and they want to trade, blah blah blah. And then I wouldn't mind that scenario, and then we get a beautiful move in the PM session. That would be for me very ideal, because then it just works out the way then I sort of like, okay, it's all expected, and how the algo tries to fool people. So that could be a scenario. So like let's say we get a nice move to the downside in pre-market, right? And then people are like, oh my god, and then they're either going to go short or long, and then oh my god, we're going to go long now, and then it starts just consolidating. I get that a lot. OBS disconnected. Reconnected. Okay, I'm still on, I guess. But yeah, I'm still on, right? Yeah, I guess so. So yeah, I think I'm okay. We're just gonna finish this macro, and then we're gonna call it a day for today, because I'm just not interested in trading, and I don't hope anyone traded or wants to trade this price action. I hope it has been a little bit informative, that at least bring some value to the stream instead of just trading. I mean, the best situation is that we can trade as well, right? But it just doesn't. Yeah, I just don't like to trade this PA, so I try to stay out of it. But I hope it's still valuable, even though I'm not trading, and I just hope that you're also not trading this PA, because I think it's very highly likely. I would have more losses in this trading anyway. So for me, it would be just, I just lose a lot of my ammo and just mental capital as well. And I just want to save it for later on. And it's still very positive that we didn't take out the high. How about, where's Asia? Okay, Asia is still here. So this is Asia. Um, Asia. We don't have a nice 4-hour wick, right? We're not going to get a present like that today. No, we had that this week already. So yeah, I hope my 4-hour, the wick in combination with the flat bottom and the manipulation wick, is that something that people can use in the future, and that will help them just also go back into your charts, right, and just look at them in the previous areas, and it will really help you to identify, like then you know, you already sort of like, you know, you have a step ahead of a lot of people because you already have a sort of indication, like, oh, if we get a minute, it might be there, and it might be to that flat bottom, and it might be into that wick. And you know, if you sort of like start seeing it, and you can frame, I mean, if you're allowed to trade news, you can, well, I would still wait, to be honest, but you can, technically, you can really turtle soup it, right? So you have the manipulation move, and then you take the move off. I learned about after during the stream, which made it worthwhile. Thank you. Thank you. Yeah. Yeah, people call BPRs inversion, but it's technically not an inversion. It's just a BPR, right? But an inversion means the inversion of the function of the fair value gap, and either they're bullish or they're bearish. But inversion means it's a bullish fair value gap becomes bearish, has a bearish function. So that's just the point of the inversion. So that's why if you mark a lot of them, they will still have, like, if you would mark them, for example, this is not a good example. They still have like the same function because it's not, the function didn't change yet. So you might get your move down now, TJ. We went into the fair value first presented. We've got technically relatively equal lows. We've got liquidity to the down. We still have this area here. So this might be the macro that we're finally going to go deeper into the downside. If I would have taken a trade, I might have taken this one. So we're in a macro. We hit the fair value gap. We have a nice distribution already to the downside, continuation. No more, this is not going to be a rejection block here anymore, so then we're going to into this area most likely. Let's see. Let's give us a, I hope, if you're in a trade, I hope for you, but yeah. Come, go, 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 go down, go down, go down. We want to see you go down. This is the move. Yeah, it's gonna go, it's gonna take this liquidity in this move. 4 o'clock almost, guys. So that's not, we're gonna get a new 4-hour candle. Are we gonna get the manipulation wick? It's gonna go into here, and then we might go back up into the range. So I expect the 4-hour candle wick to be in this area. So let's see what happens. So that's why the 4 o'clock can be so powerful, right? It's a manipulation move of the 4-hour candle, which is a lot of liquidity. So that's I would presume the manipulation move to the downside. Here we go, 4 o'clock printing, open price. What are you doing? You gonna go down to the downside? I love the 4 o'clock. Okay. How long? I've been studying ICT for 3 years. I have done the core concept twice, but I have been. Um, it's for me building blocks. I've been looking into the algorithm and the time aspect a little bit deeper than ICT teaches, and I have a little bit. I had other mentors as well, which I took little things from. Yeah, well, that's why I call myself an algoholic, because I love looking into the algo, and you'll see me referring a lot to time. But yeah, I love going into those little details. Example, when you start seeing things like I just discovered myself that those, if you have a flat bottom candle with a wick next to it, a manipulation moves goes into those things. But once you start looking into it, and journaling is so important. I didn't journal at all in the beginning because I thought, oh, I don't need that. I just study and I go into the charts and but for me, the real change came when I started journaling extensively, and I started noticing things, and then I reverse engineered, back tested, forward tested things, and yeah, then you just started noticing things, and you start to figure out more and more, and the more you find out, the easier it comes to figure out more stuff. Because if it's all algorithmic, you can literally calculate things, and it's so manipulated that it's just all the information is out there. So, for example, now if I think about, okay, how is the 4 hour candle going to develop? I really think we're going to get the manipulation move now into this area, and then it will make its way back up. So let's see. So we're going to get a good move down now. You can see this is a beautiful wick. This is like this rebalance. This is really setting up for a nice move down now. There we go. It's going to be a powerful move, very strong move. There we go. Come on. There we go. See? Thank you, TJ. So it's if you see it happen over and over and over, like I said, it's going to be a powerful move. I just know this is going to be a very strong move to the downside because it's the manipulation move, and we have been waiting for this quite a while now. So you'll see it go into this area, and let's see if it goes if it enter which area it goes. We're not done yet. We shouldn't be done yet. Are you done yet? No. Go a little bit lower. You see how strong the manipulation move was for. Oh, you found my stream 1.5, and the more I listen to you, the more I like your style and explanation. Keep it up. Thank you. My focus for this channel is really on. I just really want to bring value, and I don't care about numbers. And obviously I want to grow the channel, but I would rather have want people like TJ, like yourself, that are really like to, and I like to share, and I like other people to come on as well and share um, their knowledge as well and their explanations if they have the other view, because there's always so much to learn. So this is the point of the channel, and I really like that. Yeah, I just started I think 3 or 4 weeks ago, and yeah, I'm just sometimes there are little people, but I mean, I just don't want. I don't want the masses that are just looking for free signals and giveaway, giveaway, giveaway. That's not the what I'm looking for. But I like to, and I know I'm not for the masses, the way that I approach things, because I really want to. Obviously, I want to have fun as well, but it's about value and about really, content, and really look, share my knowledge, what I've already, speed up other people's. I don't want lazy people though, but I do want to have people that I can help speed up their process. You know what I mean, right? Yeah. So, yeah, so that's it. I just want to see how far it goes into the range, because you see how this manipulation, how it works, right? So if you have like the 4 hour, So that's why I use the 4-hour candle a lot, and especially the 4 o'clock is very important. You'll see me use the 4 o'clock throughout the whole day. Well, no, let me rephrase that. I use the 4 a.m. until 11 a.m. Eastern. That's very valuable. That's time is very valuable to me because it gives me a lot of algorithmic. It tells me a lot of what the algo is doing. So that's why you see print on my chart here. I find you are looking for someone that's doing so no focus on numbers, but more on the knowledge growing, sharing thoughts. Yeah, exactly. I've been looking at a few other YouTubers and how they stream, and I was like, okay, how do they have big, large numbers, right? And I'm looking at the chat, and for one, the chat can get really ugly, and I mean, there's a lot of simps around. They're like, really, are you? Then you need a moderator to moderate that. So obviously I would like to grow, but I'm not interested in having 100,000 odd subscribers and having, 10K people watching me. I'm not interested in that, because that comes with a lot of other things that I just think that distracts a lot to the purpose. So, but yeah, obviously I wanted to grow. But it's just, I think it's a different niche than the average one. It's more on, yeah, it's just a little bit of, and obviously if I work with one or two companies that I use myself, and you can, might get an affiliate link or something. But I don't want like some people have like tens of them just scrolls on by and like, no, I'm not. And then you get questions about the companies all the time, and yeah, asking for giveaway. I will get very. I mean, I would be very rude at some point. I'll get a, what a giveaway. I'll have giveaways, if I really have work with some, it can be interesting, but yeah, you know what I mean. But anyway, I really appreciate the compliment, and I'm happy that it's recognized because that's when you start out new, people they cannot find you. And it takes a while before the algo does its job properly, but it's okay. I'm not in a rush. So this is already for me very valuable to get these feedback, and I'm open to all kind of feedback because improvement on my charts or things that I do, or if I talk too fast, things like that. I would love to just give it to me because it's all. My channel will never work if I don't bring the value that people want. Simple as that. I can sit here for myself and talk to myself, but yeah, that's not gonna really work, right? It's about the people that are going to watch. You have to be. Now I do want to be myself. I used to work for a prop firm. I was online for them. And that's how I got into YouTube. And that's how I knew, okay, I really like that. But I was tied to too many rules. I had to use their platform. I couldn't say specific things. And then I realized, and I talked to the lady that was managing the trading coaches. So I was one of them. And she actually told me, Iris, you need to go about it. Because I said, I feel like I'm being tied down a little bit because I can't use the indicator. I can't do this. I have to, my screen has to be black, blah, and a few other rules. And then she actually said, you know what? She actually steered me away. She said, you need to go solo. And I said, no, I cannot do that. She says, yeah. And you can be yourself because, also I wasn't allowed to say that if I didn't know anything, because if we had other coaches, for example, they traded a different style. And I was very, okay, tell me that because I think the viewers would be interested too, right? And I wasn't allowed to show that I didn't know that. And I was like, listen, I don't want to be someone who, be someone that pretends to know everything because I don't. Yeah, I studied a specific area and I know things and I want to share, but it doesn't mean I know everything. And if I don't know something, I want to be able to ask, like, hey, how does it work? Because that's how you grow. And that sort of like we always got into a little bit of on the stream when I would, when there would be a topic that I wanted to know more about, I would just ask because I also think it was nice for the viewers and for the listeners. And I kept doing it, right? I just so they kept on. Yeah, so and that's why she said, you know what, you need to go. So I really have to thank her for that. So it was a very good experience, and gave me the confidence as well. Just do it, but be yourself, and don't claim to be someone you're not. And I'm just, you be yourself, and and if it works, it works, and if it doesn't work, well, it doesn't work, I guess, and then it just, you move on. But the thing is not to give up very quickly. You just have to. Sometimes when I had a stream, there was no one, and you just start, and then like, okay, you know what? I'm just, you look, and then the first few days, oh, there's no one there, because I didn't tell my friends. Honestly, I didn't tell my trading buddies. I like, you know what? I'm just gonna do it, and but then you look, and then, oh shit, there's no one there. Okay, you know what? Just pretend there's one person there. You're talking to them, and then suddenly you look, and there's a few people there. So it was so good just not to give up, right? Because you always like, you look at you just try like, oh my god, I'm just talking to no one, and what a embarrassment. But I thought, no, you're not gonna close the stream. You're just gonna go on. Just pretend like someone is gonna watch it afterwards. And then, you have a look, and then suddenly there's 10 people on it, so that was a very good, very valuable lesson from me. Don't give up because you don't have anyone watching. But, you just start, you just shouldn't be caring about it. But anyway, so, yeah, so I don't really, I'm just enjoying, getting to know new people. And you see how this move is actually really nice now, right? Yeah, it's actually a pretty good move. So also something I do want to share, when you have this price action, then a lot of the time the 4 o'clock is the move that if the 3:30 move doesn't really give a proper move, and also the 2 a.m. hasn't give a proper move, you can expect it at the 4 a.m. And now the question is, how far will it go? But anyway, especially when you start from scratch. But yeah, grows. Yeah, so yeah, so a very valuable lesson is, but even though you tell yourself, oh, I'm not going to care about views, or I'm not going to care about likes, I'm just going to focus on content. You do, I remember that I was watching like, oh shit, there's no one, and it's sort of like, you start thinking about it, but then you think, no, you started for a reason, and obviously no one knows you, so you have to start somewhere. But I must say, even though you have just in the beginning you have 10 views, but if you have 1 or 2 people that are actively chatting, and you're communicating, and you're helping each other, it's already worth everything. It doesn't, I don't care that it's just one, but yeah, no, it's slowly growing. So I never ask for likes or for people to sign up, because I always think if people like it, they will do it. But people tell you, you have to start asking for it, because people don't do it by themselves. But I hate doing that. But maybe I have to do that. But anyway, so if you like it, subscribe if you haven't yet. No, it'll come. I'm sure it'll come. But you see, I was now, okay, so we're just looking at this 4-hour wick. It's moving away. So now this becomes my point of entry. This is really a nice move, actually. Yeah, I'm definitely not giving up, and I'm just enjoying as well being on the stream, and it's just a lot of fun. It helps me as well become a better trader, to be honest. Okay, so once we've gone this becomes this becomes my point of interest. Nice move, beautiful. So accumulation, manipulation, distribution. Now, what was the manipulation? The very simple one was actually, I find it sometimes hard to understand, like if you have a range like this, right? Now, how would you see what the manipulation is? Because this is still in the range. Now, technically, this is actually the manipulation, but it's a manipulation into the range. But then you have the distribution out of the range. Now, what would I use as manipulation? I would use the open. That's another little gem I want to share. So you got the distribution out of the 4 o'clock, out of the range right here. So, but how do you know? So you have the open. You just wait until price wicks back into the open, and you just market order in. That's how I use the 4 o'clock manipulation, and that's how I also use my 10-4 model. I use the manipulation wick of the candle. So Now I make a mistake here. I set the 4-hour candle. That's not true because the 4-hour we are still in the 2 o'clock. It's till 6 o'clock. So mistake on my end. I hope nobody. Um, so we're still in that 4 o'clock, 4-hour 2 a.m. candle, but the 4 a.m. is very important to me. So I use the manipulation move from the 4 o'clock, so you can go to the hourly, but that continues the move of this 2 o'clock 4-hour candle. I did not say that correctly. So, but you see here, this would have been my entry in this area here. Anyway, okay, guys, I'm gonna let it go. I need to run some errands. I'm looking forward to later on, and yeah, I hope to see you soon again in the next session, and I hope it was valuable, and I'll see you later today, hopefully. I wish you a pleasant day, and touch some grass if you can. See you later, guys.